Hello, and welcome to Fintech Surge Podcast, creating a wealth of opportunities through fintech innovations in the Middle East for the Middle East. Powered by Fintech Surge, the region's leading fintech festival, hosted by Dubai World Trade Center alongside GITEX Global. Hi, I'm excited to be joined today by Omar Mansur. Thank you for joining us, Omar.
Thanks, Stephen, for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Omar, he's actually the engagement lead of global projects at Codebase Technologies. And Omar, I was hoping you could just tell us a little bit more about Codebase. What does Codebase do? And can you tell us a little bit more about your role at Codebase?
Sure, perfect. So my role at Codebase Technologies is global projects enterprise lead as well. So, what I essentially do is that not only do I see every project that Codebase Technologies is doing across the four continents we operate in, but at the same time, I'm very heavily engaged with the customers and the clients and the R&D team as well to basically work together with them to create innovative solutions to push out not only just in one market but across multiple markets. So just a small snippet of that is like, if let's say I'm working with a bank in Africa and they come up with something really cool, I would love to apply that in one of my other projects in Indonesia, for example, and then bring cross-border synergy.
That sounds amazing. Could you tell us some of the solutions that Codebase has come up with?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. So Codebase is a proprietary digital bank in a box platform. We are the only organization in the Arab world that basically can provide an end-to-end digital banking stack, and this is all the way from mobile applications, all the way back to core banking systems, to your middle office, back front office, literally everything you would need, like the IKEA of digital banking. You can either buy the chair you love in that room, or you can furnish the whole apartment or house if you want, and we provide that, and all our solutions are proprietary. We like to think of ourselves as a proposition company, not just a product company. So for example, if a bank comes up to us, what we recently just did is they said that, can you do BNPL for us, because a lot of fintechs are doing BNPL. So they basically came and said, could you do this for us as well? We can do lending and we have the infrastructure and everything. We just don't have the means to do it. So what we do is we take some of our systems and we create that platform for them, and then we hand it over to them. So it's more of like a proposition, not just a product company.
That sounds great. So basically, you're saying that if a bank comes up to you and says, "Hey, we have a bank and we want our customers to be able to buy now, pay later," which is the BNPL that you just mentioned, you're actually able to put that whole process into place. So
Absolutely.
this is available to the customers.
Absolutely. So, for example, usually what happens is, and being in both the business side of things, the project side of things, and the tech side of things as well, usually what happens is, like, you get timeline commitments, because banks, they for them the biggest thing is, it's not the money so much as time to market. So what happens is, they'll give you like a very tight time frame. They'll be like, look, I want to launch this initiative in like 3 months time, and this is blah blah blah, what I can afford, etc., and so forth. And a lot of people, just for having the logo, will commit to it, and then the 3 months ends up being 6 months, 9 months. And uh, what we basically pride ourselves on is that our systems are so modular and so uh, developed in a manner that for us to basically put together that proposition and hand it over can be less than 3 months. And the best example is that in Jordan, we just launched in February a bank called Blink, and it's literally it took us 4 months to basically launch the bank, from all the way from design, UI, UX, all the way up to like functionality, roadmap, everything. So we pride ourselves on our delivery.
Well, I mean, those are really, really quick turnarounds. I think that I can speak from experience that being in the Middle East, there's very few things that happen in a significant scale that can happen within 2 to 4 months. And the fact that you can implement, proper banking technology and proper fintech within that sort of time period, I think most would agree that that's a very impressive turnaround, especially for what you're producing in the first place.
Absolutely. And one of the things what we did was we have created this culture internally where we like to stick to timelines, and the earlier the better as well. But at the same time, what we like to do is we respect the customer enough, because we understand that they want to get the maximum ROI as well. And for us, the faster we can deliver a project, the better we can move on to newer projects, and and then focus on our own internal developments and R&D and innovation, etc., and so forth. So
Absolutely. That's a great point, Dan. And honestly, the more I'm listening to you, the more I understand that, for you and for the team at Codebase, like obviously, I don't think that you can really, deliver the products that you deliver without having, an extreme passion towards fintech. So I was hoping you could just tell me a little bit about, what does fintech mean to you?
well, there, there's two ways to basically look at this. So you have fintech, which is financial technologies, is smashed into one buzzword. And then you have fintech, which is basically I would like to call it a call to action. You know what I mean? The reason why, if you look at why fintechs, or in general a lot of tech companies or startups basically started to happen, was institutions or incumbents that were basically available were unable to process or furnish the needs of their customers. The best example is banks. um, if I don't have if my mobile application on my bank is not able to do the bare necessity without, and I have to basically go to, let's say, a branch to do basic things, it's an inconvenience for me, because then I'll have to take time out of my busy work schedule, my life, etc., and so forth. I mean, I'm not saying that a little bit of elbow grease is a bad thing, but the idea is that as people were evolving, and so are our needs, and we are right now in a phase and era of convenience culture. So the more convenience you can provide to your customers, the higher the chances are of you being successful. And the best example is, if you look at in Singapore, you have Grab, or in Dubai, I mean, you have Kareem. Like, usually you'd have to pick up the phone, call up a taxi, and then, like, word by word, give them directions, etc., and so forth. Now you just basically open the app, tell them where do you want to go. It'll automatically pick up your location. You sit, you sit and relax, have a soft drink, while you wait for like 10 minutes, and then that's it. The second thing about fintech is what separates, uh, and my personal opinion, what the distinction it does between the incumbents, uh, especially the banks and stuff like that, was customer service. A digital bank allows you to view your balance, hold your money, do basic transfers, etc., and so forth, and from time to time, some complaint handling. Whereas if I was to go to a bank back in the day, I'd have to get in a line just to withdraw cash or check my balance. I'd have to download some weird code just to check my SMSs, etc., and so forth. If I wanted to apply for a loan, or a financing or a credit card, literally any product that's not an account, I would have to, like, go every time to a branch. So the fact that I can operate this level of comfort from my home, like, I'd never have to see, I never sunlight would never touch my skin, and I would be able to get all these things done. And I personally feel that that is what is different from a fintech. It's a need. It's the unsung hero, or that answers a call. So that's what my understanding of fintech has always been.
Yeah, and I think you really you touched on a really important point there is that, you know, Codebase is doing some amazing things, and you and the team are really being the heroes, leading the fintech way. But really, fintech is more of a response to a need as opposed to just creating convenience. And as we realize technology is evolving and things become easier, more comfortable, more convenient, convenience is not just a luxury anymore. It's actually a necessity. So whenever we all ended up getting smartphones, and now you can go on the internet on your smartphone. Now you can make calls, listen to music, send messages, and now you can pay with your smartphone. These are actually things that, in today's world where we're all so busy and we all have so many things to juggle, it's not just a luxury to be able to do these things on your phone, but it's a necessity because now we have so many more things that we need to get done. And I really appreciate companies like Codebase taking the time to make this convenience a part of our lives so we can actually continue to grow and prosper and get more things done.
Absolutely. I mean, convenience is one thing. Like, and this what I specifically touched on was physical convenience. Now, in terms of like today, like because digital banking is it's about 4 years, in my personal opinion, in the Middle East, it's about 4 years old, 4 or 5 years old. You can open up an account, via your smartphone and stuff like that. But what's the next step? You know what I mean? Okay, cool. You can apply for a product. You know what I mean? Which honestly is not that much different. What can you do to evolve as a fintech? So I personally think that now you've created the infrastructure, you've made the ease of the physicality of things, where it's you no longer have to go to a branch to do this. You offer now, like for example, like we were talking about BNPL earlier. BNPL is something that you can offer to customers, because at the same time now you're giving them a convenience of financing. You're telling them that, listen, you can apply for XYZ product. You can actually purchase XYZ product, and if you miss a payment or anything like that, whatever, there is no ramification of repayment, that you'd have with a credit card and a credit bureau, etc., and so forth. So they say that I don't like credit cards, but I do want to buy this product, but I do not have the financial means to undertake this thing. What do? You offer BNPL. You go into your app, you basically configure that uh, product that you basically had purchased from the retail organization, and be like, yeah, I want to split this into four easy payments, and done, sorted, on like a basis. uh, Another big example in Pakistan. So I was basically I'm currently on the board of directors for a uh, Islamic digital bank as well, and one of the discussions that we were having around was how can you basically bring convenience to the local population over there. Because I mean, if you look at multiple regions, Dubai is not a very heavily populated country, as opposed to uh, Indonesia, Egypt, Pakistan, India, etc., and so forth, Bangladesh, and stuff like that. So, in order to flourish in these places, and the best place to test out new products and new initiatives is to target high population countries, because you get multiple use cases. And one of the best use cases is salary overdraft. It's like, okay, you need to make an XYZ payment. You just started your new job or something like that. You haven't accumulated in your savings account, the amount of money that you need for, like, for example, school, or paying down payment on a rent or something. So you can apply for a salary overdraft right there and then, and you get your whole salary's worth, either immediately right then and there where you need it, or you can basically get it like a couple of days just before you get your actual salary as well. You know what I mean? Like, these kind of conveniences, if you can basically have them at your fingertips, it sort of makes life less daunting. You know what I mean? It's like that extra bullet or that Hail Mary attempt that you want to look for.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this buy now pay later ecosystem that we're really getting involved in. We're really seeing it evolve a whole lot in the UAE as well. There's a company, Tabby, that just announced, I believe it was yesterday, that now they have an app where consumers can buy now pay later. So I think previously they were going to enterprises themselves. For example, I used them whenever my car broke down and I needed to pay 8,000 American Emirates dirhams, not American, I'm sorry, Arab Emirates dirhams, to have my car repaired, and I just didn't want to spend that much money on the spot. Where they said, okay, well, Tabby has this buy now, pay later option. You can actually pay for this repair over the course of 6 months, and it just makes it a lot easier. And kind of like you said, if you're starting a new job, or if you just had a big expense, or you just had to pay for something that you didn't expect to pay for, buy now, pay later really kind of eases a lot of that burden. So it's not just a luxury, it actually becomes a necessity, so you can continue to put food on the table, you can continue to buy gas, and it's really exciting to see that even smaller countries like the UAE are are growing and are seeing the necessity for these sort of things as well.
Absolutely. But as awesome as the concept of BNPL is and everything like that, you have to at least understand one thing, that there is a very huge risk. A lot of the things that you can basically do right now, you don't need BNPL for it, you just need a credit card. The whole idea of BNPL was to offer people who don't have credit cards the ability to do credit style transactions, or like easy payment plans, without having the central bank involved, the credit bureau involved, etc., and so forth. Not that it's a bad thing, or anything like that. It's just that sometimes if I want to buy an iPhone today, I don't want to wait like a week or two, for a credit card just so I can buy it. I want to get it right now. You know what I mean? Like I have like a 2-day window, and that's the niche that buy now pay later firms capitalized on. And one of the reasons why I think this, why I've always been very happy to see innovation because you learn from it, but at the same time, um, given my background, which back in the day I used to do enterprise risk, um, was that to assess risk on buy now pay later, you have to understand that a lot of customers will apply for this, some might not be able to pay because it's a snowball effect. You buy one thing, a second thing, a third thing, a fourth thing, you know what I mean? And voila, you get your paycheck, which is, let's say, $5,000 or $10,000 a month. You get your paycheck, and then immediately on that day you get your paycheck, you have to make your payment. You've accumulated so much stuff because on your SMS or on your banking application, it will only reflect a quarter of the payment of the thing. So imagine you buy an iPhone, now you have this amazing iPhone, but the SMS basically says you paid like one fourth of it. It's and people, mankind in general tends to snowball quite a lot with a lot of things. They say, okay, I'll buy one iPhone today for like 500 dirhams when the price is 2,000. Like, okay, cool, I can afford 500 dirhams a month. And then you get something else. It's, I can afford another 500 dirhams a month, and then I can afford another 500 dirhams a month. And when you basically take a step back and you look at it on a long term perspective, like for example, if you just scale back and you say that, okay, in 12 months, this is my end of year balance statement. You basically have bought so much stuff because you could, that you don't have any savings left anymore, and you basically are enforcing the not the concept of living paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of people basically do that, but the idea is that the whole point of fintech is, yes, to do convenience. It's supposed to bring in, like, it's supposed to help everybody. It brings convenience to the customers, it brings customers to the organizations. It basically it puts the foot down towards, against the incumbent, saying that, no, I'm going to do a better job than you. you know i'm I'm going to capitalize. While you were sleeping, I was working, that sort of thing. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, if your organization is not um, helping educate on not just financial technology, but like, well, you don't help them on financial well-being. Inclusion is one thing, but financial literacy is something that is not being taught as well these days.
Absolutely, and I think that that's a very important point that you made. That we all need to listen to this as a precautionary tale. That getting yourself in debt is exactly that. You are in debt, and even if it is easier up front, it is something you will have to pay later. So I definitely think that one of the things that us at FinTech Surge try to get across is the consumer responsibility. And fintech, it is designed to make things easier and more convenient and more accessible and more inclusive. But the more accessible things are, the more inclusive things are, the more access you have to spending. A lot of times that can get you in trouble as well, because if your earning and your spending are not aligned, then you can really get in trouble. But
I
obviously.
mean, absolutely, like, that's the thing. But you see, when people have been, um well, the enabler culture, unfortunately, just does not stress enough on the long term,
Mhm.
effect of financial well-being. And at the same time, now what happens is you have governments that will do bailouts, you
Right.
know and when they do bailouts, the money has to come from somewhere, right? Somebody has to balance the book at the end of the day somewhere. The bad debt or something like that just does not disappear. There's a lot of things around it. So
Yep. Absolutely. Like you said, you know, spend responsibly. Even if it is buy now, pay later, it is something you will still have to pay for. So it is not free money, even though you're not paying it up front. Spend responsibly. Make sure that you're taking care of your finances. And fintech is really designed to help you along the way, to get you out of trouble, not to get you into trouble. And I think that that's one of the big things that we need to stress here on this podcast. So kind of moving on to a new question, which hopefully is a little bit more upbeat and less scary, is what do you think that fintech can do today or in the near future that can improve lives and change the world? So I think we all know that there's a certain amount of technology that's already available. What do you think is still missing? What is a pain point that you think technology is going to help in the near
Um,
future?
Personally, like from not just my personal opinion, but from my own observations, being in multiple markets, working in multiple propositions, digital banking, BNPL, etc., and so forth, all the way to instant financing. Uh, I personally think that the thing that fintech can change, and I personally think that why I would want to what I would heavily stress on was what I was mentioning earlier, which is financial literacy. Show people any you can apply for a bank account, and once you get that bank account, you can apply for a credit card. Then you can apply for various products. It's not difficult to apply for these products, but the thing is, it's the equivalent of saying that you can get a licensed weapon, from a Walmart, in the US. How do you use it? You get what I mean? The reason why you have a lot of the problems that basically happen, by people who don't know the power they hold in their hands, for their own lives. It's fintech is like that as well. You know what I mean? It is an instrument that can be used for both good and bad. It just depends on how you are educated well enough to understand that instrument and how you can use it for yourself. So, like I said, buy now, pay later. It's a convenience, but if you can basically teach people to use it effectively, or if they can basically use it in the long run to benefit themselves. um, I'm a big fan of organizations that basically, or fintechs that basically push out savings products, specifically around savings, or like auto investing, robo advisory, etc. Sarva, for example, fantastic platform. You put your money in, you don't need to basically buy now and sell then, and you don't have to worry about being like a stock trader or having all that stuff. They do it for you right there and then. And honestly speaking, I personally think that as long as you are making money and you're not losing money, and it's basically helping you plan for your future, and somehow in a way of sorts uh, um, do what's it called, um, or a lot of passive income, sorry, the opportunity to get passive income. That's what I was trying to say. Is I That's what a fintech should do. It should educate you. It should educate you well enough to a point where you know how to create passive income, regardless of what your profession is. I could be a carpenter, but if I have sarva, I can make money on the side as well, because tomorrow I don't know if I might have my job or not.
That's an important part, and I think that a lot of times whenever we're talking about fintech, we tend to give a lot of emphasis on pay tech, which is also very useful and convenient. But wealth tech is also an important part of fintech that really helps you invest wisely, efficiently, and really make your money grow for you, and that's a huge part of finance. And I think that between AI and all these different instruments and algorithms that are available, it's really making it a lot easier for people to invest in it, and it's helping the markets grow as well.
100%. And like the three things, just to summarize the question you asked, three things that I feel that fintech should focus on: financial literacy, financial well-being, and financial responsibility. If
Financial literacy, financial well-being, and financial responsibility.
these
I think
three
that's great.
these three are key, and that's
I
what
agree.
they should solve.
Yeah, great, great. Well, I'll tell you what, Omar, I really appreciate you being on our podcast. I think that we're running out of
Pleasure
time
was all
now,
mine.
but it was super useful, and I think that touching on the responsibility of fintech is something that we don't hear a whole lot about, and so I really appreciate a company that's putting out so much useful products that actually cares about the people that are using the products and using them responsibly.
Absolutely, the whole idea is to not the phrase where you shouldn't swim against the current and just go with the flow. Maybe sometimes it's good to go against the current because you get stronger.
Makes sense.
And by
That's a great
stronger
point.
mean, and and if it does not challenge you, it will not change you. You know what I mean? It's one of these famous quotes that's been floating around. And if you sit down and think about it, it's like, y- as a river, you'll flow in one direction. You know what I mean? But if you challenge the norm and you bring out an opposing thought, you know, or an uncommon thought, it's not widely accepted because it's hence why being called uncommon. Nobody's gonna be like, oh yeah, we should definitely do BNPL. It's like the same thing. It's like you have Tabby, you had Spotty, and all these guys basically come up. Now the whole market is oversaturated. Now they're competing against one another for rates and etc. and so forth. So, it's it's
Hey,
it's 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 long story short is like, what can you do for your fellow men? And well, I mean, we're not firemen or policemen, but we do try our best to contribute in a way of sorts of financial responsibility, literacy, and um, inclusion. And these are the kind of things we focus on primarily when we are architecting and creating some of our products and propositions.
that's amazing. And it's great to hear these things. And so we look forward to great things from you, Omar. We look forward to great things from Codebase. And, we look forward to also seeing you at Fintech Surge 2022 in October. Thank you for listening. Subscribe for all the latest updates on fintech in the Middle East and join the conversation over on our social channels. We look forward to seeing you at Fintech Surge at Dubai World Trade Center from October 10th through October 13th. I'm Stephen Bess, and this has been the Fintech Surge podcast, creating a wealth of opportunities.